What's up guys? I know we didn't get to do a video last week. I've just had weird review schedules these last couple of weeks just because things are not coming in and I just haven't had stuff to review, so I haven't shot any of these videos, but that means there's more stuff to talk about in this video for you guys, and we'll still have at least enough, if not more than enough, to have our minimum of 3 videos for you guys, and we may even do like an exclusive live stream even though nobody ever comes to those. Anyway, I want to say thanks again for the support, guys. I really do appreciate it. And I think we should just dive into it because there's, like I said, kind of a lot of stuff to talk about in this video. So the first thing I want to talk about is this right here. I showed you guys that chrome and then the clear coat that works for the chrome very nicely. This is not anything to do with that. It's a different clear coat. This is obviously a spray-on clear coat. It's by Mr. Hobby. It's Mr. Super Clear, and they have a few different ones. This one's matte. They have different finishes. Then they have different tiers of the clear coat as well. There's one, I don't know if it's by Mr. Hobby. It might be by a different company, but it's actually acrylic spray, which is unheard of. You don't get that. It's always lacquer-based stuff in the cans, in the aerosol cans. And that's what this is. So you have to be careful. Some materials could react adversely, but in my experience, this stuff's freaking awesome. It is fantastic. I tested it on some of the flexible things like the vest for this guy, Apache Chief, which is, you know, like that really flexible plastic they use, which is generally what has an adverse reaction to this kind of stuff. It didn't. As a rule of thumb, the harder the plastic, the less likely it is you'll have a problem. The softer the plastic, the more likely it is you'll have a problem. So I tested it on some soft stuff just to see if it would be okay, and it was so far. And of course, every plastic is different, but that was just a decent test. But here's the thing. I used it on the Catwoman figure that we've been working on. It is gorgeous. It's the best clear coat I've used, matte clear coat that I've ever used. It's incredible. The finish is so nice. It's so much better than the testers. And since half the time with testers you end up with a semi like satin finish anyway, this is way, way better. The purple, as you can see, and then the black for the legs, it's all still super flat because I haven't painted anything here. I started to paint the gloves with a semi-gloss, and then I'm going to go over them with a clear gloss to give them that patent leather look that they need. But for the purple, which is what I want it to be very flat, it is just absolutely fantastic. It's such a nice finish. It's so good. So I wanted to let you guys know about that because it's just a really, really nice clear. This is something a lot of people use for like their robot Damashi or their Gunpla to give them a nice flat finish on top. It's so freaking good. And I don't get anything by telling you guys. I'm sponsored or anything. But it's really good. Now the drawback is it's like $15 to $20 a can. It's a larger can than the testers, but it's still pretty expensive. So, I mean, you'll be able to get a few projects done with one can, so it's really not technically that bad. But for $15 to $20 for a can this size, it's still a lot. But it's very, very nice and well worth it. It has a really nice spray nozzle too, which is good. The testers had a crappy one, so this is something you may want to look into for Gunpla or even just customize, whatever you want to do that you want a matte finish. This is it. Although they named it matte rather than making it M-A-T-T-E, which I thought was funny. But maybe that's a way somebody spells it. I don't know. Okay, so that's one thing out of the way. So part 2 of that, which is just to show you the Catwoman, it's all done being sculpted and everything. Now I'm just finishing up the paint. I had to do a couple different batches of clear on it to get all the different parts and joints and things done. So the purple and everything is cleared in the matte. I've started to paint the gloves, like I said. So they're going to be glossy black. And then that's it for the body. Gloves and boots are glossy black, and it's done. But we have the head, which I also cleared. So I painted the face and the purple part, and then I cleared it. And now I'm painting the hair with a flat black, which is not quite as flat as that, so it gives it a little bit of a separation in the finish. And hair has a little bit of luster to it anyway, so that'll be nice. This is where I had it clamped, that's why I haven't painted this yet. But this is all just getting brushed black. It's going to have a little bit of dark blue shading on there. And then I have to just go in and paint the eyes, and I might do a little bit of gloss for the lips. I think I'll definitely do some gloss for the lips and the eyes, of course. So Catwoman's just about ready to go. Once that's painted, I'll pop it back on. And then we'll save Thalog for the end. So then we have this, which is me being almost done with the Bastilla Sean figure. You can see I've got the front torso pretty much all finished up. I have to do a little bit more detail work around the belt area here, but that's about as low as I can go without it being a risk for breakage. So we're going to end the sculpt work like right about there, unfortunately, but it'll still look cool. It'll still have the right effect. So this one's just about ready to go. I've got the back done, the front done, just a little bit more detail work, and then it's good to go. And just so you have kind of an idea of how it's going to look, I'm going to set the arms kind of in place on the torso so that you have just a tiny glimpse of how it's going to end up coming together. That doesn't really help very much, does it? But you get an idea, and there you go. That's as best as I can show you. The legs are all sculpted. The arms are all sculpted. This figure turned out to be a whole lot more work than I anticipated, but I do think it's going to end up looking pretty nice, so I think the customer will be happy. Okay, on to Theolog. The most important thing I want to show you is I've trimmed off the plastic in here for the discs. I'm joking, of course. That's not a big deal. I just have to pop the shoulders off, hollow out the biceps a little bit, and resculpt the shoulders to make them a little extra bulky. We don't have to do that as much as we did on Goliath, simply because he has these giant shoulder pads for Theolog, so we'll do some, but not probably as extensively. I got the tail done completely, give or take. What I did is I connected it to the torso, like I said, or to the crotch with a couple of nails. I think I used nails instead of screws this time. Doesn't matter because it's not going anywhere. And then it's, of course, sculpted all the way around up to that. That just needs a little bit more sanding. And then I had to cut it in half, like right here. And then I resculpted it basically from all the way top to down here. Because if you just sculpt it in the middle, it's not going to work. Because you're taking something that tapers, cutting it, and extending it. You can't stretch it out without ruining that taper. So you have to start a whole new taper. So that's what I did. And this is all sanded out. Just have a couple little things I fixed. Like a couple little notches that didn't quite get as smooth as I wanted, so I threw a little bit of clay on there. So that'll get sanded off, and this is a gray primer, that's why it looks like that. But that's, so the tail's ready to go, basically. Solid. This thing is, you could hurt somebody with this. So that's basically done. And then we have the legs, which I've started on. This is one of those things where it takes a lot of separate steps just because you have the different muscle groups, and it's easier to feather them into hard clay rather than soft clay without mushing everything around. So I'll have to do this front part of the quad. I'll have to do this inner part of the thigh. And I have to do the shin a little bit, but he's got big like shin guards on, shin armor, so I don't have to worry about that as much because that's going to just cover up the entire thing. But I just want to sculpt out the calf muscles a little bit before, and this is that bone tendon area on the side here. But yeah, I wanted to sculpt out this just a little bit more before I do the armor because I want it to have the right look rather than just be a big thick chunk of armor on top of little chicken legs. So I have a nail in here, and that gives it the right angle, and we're just losing all the articulation except for the hips because it's useless anyway on this guy, and that way it makes him nice and sturdy and it gives us a better sculpt. So I have the legs set. That's exactly how they need to be to fit on the figure properly for him to stand. Just need to finish up the sculpting on the top and the inner thigh, and then a little bit on the calves, and then it's time for the armor. A little bit of sanding on here and he'll be good to go. So that's it for the legs. We're trucking right along here on Theolog. And then for the wings, I've got the wings all sculpted out, almost. I have to do a little bit of sanding on here because I had to do some touch-up work. Come on, camera, are you focused? So I already sculpted it once, but then I didn't quite like it because there's like a weird defect in the original mold, so I'm resculpting this area just a little bit. So a little bit of sanding and that's done, but the wings have been sculpted all the way down, basically. Again, just a touch of sanding to fix these minor touch-ups, but that's good to go. Then this gets connected to the body, so it's nice and solid. And I made it so that all of the flex happens outside of where the sculpt is, so you won't see any crack marks or anything like that. It'll flex up here rather than down here where the sculpt is. It stops right about there, give or take. But then there's still a gap from where the wings are to where it goes in the body. It's going to be like right there, but I need to resculpt the upper torso for him before I can finish off the wings. So I'll sculpt that, I'll connect this, then I'll sculpt this onto that. So both wings are good to go like that. And then I wanted to show you lastly, because I haven't done the torso yet, I wanted to show you the head. So this is a copy of the Goliath head, which we made a while ago for when we did Goliath. The guy that was printing it, something happened that he wanted to do another one. I can't remember what it was. He said there was some kind of issue with it, but I don't remember what it was. Either way, he made a second copy of it. So this is a copy of the original Goliath head. And then this is the one that I made built on that Goliath head, but I didn't know what size it was anymore. I lost that file. So I had to do it based on just measurements. But look how close it ended up being. I got the measurements basically exactly right. So that turned out perfectly because I wanted them to be the same size. And they are. So this is the Theolog head. You can see the face has a smile on it, as opposed to the kind of grimace that Goliath has. And he's got the armor going around his face and around the back of his hair, and he's got all new hair, totally different hair. And this one looks all rough because it had all the supports connected here, so I had to sand it. It's actually really smooth, but it looks rough because doesn't have like the polished finish that you get out of the printer. So once I throw paint on here, it'll all look like one final surface. But it looks really rough, but don't worry, it won't be. It'll be completely smooth looking. So we have that. The head is done, the hair is done. We have to finish up the torso, finish up the arms, then we have to... Here's the thing about the torso. It requires basically complete armor. So there's a lot of work left to do, even though we've got a lot done. But we're getting there. We're getting there. I'm very pleased with how this print turned out. Very, very pleased with that. I can't wait to get this guy painted up. It's going to be nice. All right, guys. I think that's it. Thanks again for the support. I really do appreciate it. And I'll see you guys next time.